over half the current member countries failed to meet basic human rights standards as measured by Freedom House. Countries like Venezuela, Cuba, China, Burundi, and Saudi Arabia occupy positions that obligate them to, in the words of the resolution that created the Human Rights Council, uphold the highest standards of human rights. In Venezuela, the government has systematically destroyed civil society through arbitrary detention, torture, and blatant violations of freedom of the press and freedom of expression. And yet, not once has the Human Rights Council seen fit to condemn Venezuela. In Cuba, the government continues to arrest and detain critics and human rights advocates. Political prisoners by the thousands continue to sit in Cuban jails. Yet Cuba has never been condemned by the Human Rights Council. It, too, is a member country. The list goes on. In 2014, Russia invaded Ukraine and took over Crimea. This illegal occupation resulted in thousands of civilian deaths and injuries, as well as arbitrary detentions. No special meeting of the Human Rights Council was called, and the abuses continue to mount. If the Human Rights Council is going to be an organization we entrust to protect and promote human rights, it must change. The UN must act to keep the worst human rights abusers from obtaining seats on the Council. As it stands, elections for membership to the Council are over before the voting even begins. Regional blocs nominate slates of predetermined candidates that never face any competition for votes. No competition means no scrutiny of candidates' human rights records. We must change the election so countries are forced to make the case for membership based on their records, not on their promises. Selection of members must occur out in the open for all to see. The secret ballot must be replaced with open voting. Countries that are willing to support human rights violators to serve on the Human Rights Council must be willing to show their faces. They know who they are. It's time for the world to know who they are. The status quo is not acceptable. It is not a place for countries who champion human rights. I call on all like-minded countries to join making the Human Rights Council reach its intended purpose. Let the world be on notice. We will never give up the cause of universal human rights. Whether it's here or in other venues, we will continue this fight. Thank you.